things in the sea of forgetfulness. But in this day and age, we have a lot of people who are into fishing. We have many people who are always fishing for the things that you used to do, fishing for the things that you've said in the past, fishing for what you used to be. They remember when you were on the street. They remember when you sold drugs. They remember when you cheated. Some old times, even some good times. And then there will be someone who says, remember when you used to be a piece of work back in the day when you were just a little kid? Remember when you used to... It's amazing how many people are always fishing for what was. And sometimes you have people that are fishing for information. In today's term, they use it. They're spilling the tea. They just want to know what the tea is. They just want to know what that is. I'm Shon, your host. Welcome back to the ImDealingWith broadcast. In the series that we're talking about restoring the trust. Today we're talking about point number 3, and that is to keep from dwelling on the past. Yeah, stop dwelling on the past. And many times, as many people have tried to move on in life, they've tried to have discussions. They've tried to communicate. They have tried to forgive or have forgiven people, whether they've actually had to forgive themselves or forgive others, or maybe they had to be forgiven. But every time you see that same particular individual, the next thing they do is bring up what happened 3 years ago, what happened a year ago, what happened 10 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. And a lot of times you have many seniors in life that still have grudges, that are holding on from things from 30 and 40 years ago. And they have yet to move on because they have not really forgiven as they should. Because, even though we say that we may be believers, if we're, Christian believers or faith-based people, we say we're believers and we believe in forgiving people. But I know of one who throws things in the sea of forgetfulness, never to remember them no more. And if we say that we're to be Christ-like, sometimes, no, I'll change that. All the time, we need to be throwing those things in the sea of forgetfulness. But in this day and age, we have a lot of people who are into fishing. We have many people who are always fishing for the things that you used to do, fishing for the things that you've said in the past, fishing for what you used to be. They remember when you were on the street. They remember when you sold drugs. They remember when you cheated. They remember when you cheated on your taxes. They remember when you didn't do certain thing at work. They always remember the things that they should not be fishing for. It's amazing because you can be in a gathering of people remembering some old times, even some good times, and then there will be someone who says, remember when you used to be a piece of work back in the day when you were just a little kid? Remember when you used to... It's amazing how many people are always fishing for what was. And sometimes you have people that are fishing for information. In today's term, they use it. They're spilling the tea. They just want to know what the tea is. They just want to know what that is. And in order to move on in any situation, we have to stop dwelling on the past. That means dwelling on the past in yourself. That means dwelling on the past in some of your previous relationships. That means dwelling on the past in some of the decisions that you've made or somebody had made for you that you may or may not have liked. And anytime you need to move forward, we have to stop dwelling on the past. There's nothing wrong with remembering the past and knowing from whence you came, knowing your struggles, knowing how you were brought up, knowing the lack and knowing the understanding that gap. There's nothing wrong with that. But what we can't do is keep living in the past, because if we keep living in the past, it affects us in our present. And if it affects us in our present, we are aborting our future. And one thing you cannot afford to do is abort your future, let alone abort where you are now. And in order to get out the past, in order to get rid of the past, we have to get out of that box, that cup that plant was first seeded in on your sink. You think about it. You have those herbs in those little small gardens that you started on your sink in a small styrofoam cup, and you planted those seeds and you allowed some roots to begin. But in order to get the fruit that you're looking for, the fruit that you're looking for, you cannot stay in that styrofoam cup. You've got to get out of that. And you have to be put and planted into a different planter that is larger so you can grow, so you can expand, so you can harness, so you can relearn, so you can build. But in order to do that, you have to get out of that box of complacency, out of that box of what was. Some people can't move on because of what had happened a year ago. Some people can't move on because of what happened 3 years ago, 5, 15, maybe, 20 years ago, half a century ago. But you got to get out of that styrofoam cup, get into that bigger planter, and understand the purpose of that bigger planter is for you to grow roots, bigger, longer, stronger roots. And understand that the roots have to go down first before you really spring up into the person that you need to be. Because even as you're growing on top, you need the foundation on the bottom. And when you have that foundation on the bottom, that means when the winds of change and the winds of time and trespasses come and experiences come, and some of the experiences you might not even like, that you can rock. Yeah, you can rock and roll with it. You can bend, you can lean when you have a good foundation and you have roots. So that way, when the trials come, you know how to understand, you know how to get a good idea and know that this is just the making of me. It's not the breaking of me. Yeah, there we go. That's a word right there. It's not the making of me. It's not the breaking of me. It's the making of me. This comes in my life not to break me, but to make me. So it's very important that you change your understanding, that you change your preconceived ideas into a positive and not make everything out of a negative. And that's what old stuff does. We dwell on the negative all the time. And we need to change that from a negative to a positive. And it's only when we change our mind that we can change our understanding, that we can change our speech, that we can change our action. But it's a mind change and a heart change. And anytime you try to build trust, it's a heart change, the change of heart to not be bitter, a change of heart to not have a hardened heart, a change of heart to not be hateful, change of heart not to be dealing with strife all the time. But the thing we need to deal with today is to stop dwelling on the past. Hope you have a blessed day. Keep your head up and take care. Goodbye for now.